To say I'm excited about this episode is an understatement. I am a fan. And as we established, long lost friends from a golden age of hip hop. We have evidence. Looking forward to this discussion with a hip hop legend, Charles Stewart, better known as Charlie Tuna, and one of the founding members of Jurassic 5, has cemented his place in hip hop history as one of the most recognizable voices in the genre.
Wow.
Known for his bass baritone sound and quick delivery style, he has worked on some of the most iconic albums, EPs, and collaborations in rap and hip hop with not only Jurassic 5, but also as a solo artist working with such groups as Linkin Park, Roots Manuva, Black Eyed Peas, Mos Def, Black Alicious, and many, many more over his very long career in hip hop. We're excited to talk about all of this, the history of rap, the current state of the union, and his post-election thoughts. Tuna, it's an absolute pleasure. Welcome to the Run GPG podcast.
Yo, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Especially crossing borders digitally. We're doing it. That's what's up. Respect.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time in Canada before.
I spent a lot of time everywhere.
Yeah.
I got a lot of good friends in Canada, man, that I big up to the whole Westwood family, the Funk Hunters, Nick Middleton, Duncan Smith, to the cats from Swollen Members, to Nelly Furtado, to just enough love to all y'all, man. We in the same country, whether we want to say it or not. It's the truth, you know. So y'all just got different little policies that we do. That's why.
Yeah. Right now, I think Canadians are a little worried about erasing out that borderline right now. Which brings up an interesting question. Did you stay up all night and watch the election results? Did you do that?
No. Cast it. I learned that, especially dealing with King Cooper here.
Is your guy winning? Is your guy winning?
At this point, they keep saying, okay, I just got an alert right now. It says Trump steps up false claims of election fraud as votes continue to see. I don't know, man. This is the world is a stage and the theater has no seats. So I'm just sitting here I'm just standing here.
Yeah.
Like this.
Good point. The past few months have been insane, as we were talking about before we started recording here. And as I said, we're not a political podcast, but what are your thoughts on the current state of the union in the world as you reflect on the past year, where we've been, where we're going from an artist perspective?
Well, I can only speak from a Black man in America's perspective, which fuels my art and fuels everything that I do. And I can only say that this is the most intensified aspect of what America has been plagued with, as far as I can remember. My lifetime, I'm 50 years old, my lifetime is just a drop in a bucket compared to how long these problems have existed. I'm speaking with police brutality, corruption within the government, all of these different things. I'm saying, and I'm sure every major civilization, every major country around the planet, it's only one of us, which is Earth. And I feel like you have the choice to speak about it within your art. You have the choice to not speak about it in your art and use your art to basically give an alternative to maybe the pain and the suffering that's going on. So you don't have to do any of that. I just feel like you should have the freedom to choose what you want to do. Mm-hmm. It's not really an obligation. It's all about what you're obligated to within yourself. Me personally, I've always been one who spoke out against injustices in any form or fashion, whether it affected me directly or indirectly. Right. But at the same time, it's like, for me, like, people want to put the mic on my face now. I don't know if that's the conversation we need to have. I think the conversation that needs to be had is between the people who are holding the microphones as opposed to the ones who you trying to look to for some, guidance when you've been looking to us for entertainment this whole time. I ain't saying every entertainer shouldn't have an opinion on this, because we should. We're human beings and civilians first, who live in a society. So of course, but at the same time, I've been talking about this forever, and I'm tired of talking.
Well said. Moving along, as I said, we're not a political podcast. So far, though, Charlie Tuna and the Stewart family are well and safe currently, correct?
Yeah, we good. We okay. You know what I'm saying? My son's grown. He got his own thing, and he's good.
Yeah.
I'm cool. It's all good, man. So far, so good. I can't really sit here and complain, because I know it's a lot of other people who are way worse off than I am right now. So yeah, for sure.
Now, as I said, we don't typically go down that path right away, but we can't ignore what's going on. It's a major world event right now. So I thought we'd talk about it just briefly. Now, let's get into it. Take us back to the beginning. Tuna, where are you from? Where did you grow up? And how did you start this hip hop journey? How did you get involved in hip hop?
I'm from the city where house music was born. And, they buried Al Capone. And, no, I'm just playing. So, yeah, I'm from Chicago originally, South Side. My whole family, for the most part, except for sprinkled throughout the Caribbean because of old school slavery things. I'm sure there's a lot of people still out there, and a lot of people in the South. I got a lot of people in Alabama, Mississippi, and Atlanta. Well, they live in Atlanta, but sprinkled throughout Georgia. But for the most part, Illinois is the home of both my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family. And grew up there. Saturated in house music in the late 70s and 80s. I'm a 70s, 80s baby. You know what I'm saying? And 1979 hit. Got slapped in the face with a song called Rapper's Delight.
Yep.
And we could go down all kind of tangents from there, right? But Rapper's Delight. I could draw. I was an artist. My whole family has a lot of visual artists. You know what I'm saying? I want to say 3 of my uncles, 4 of my cousins, 2 of my aunts. It's just a lot of us. You know what I mean? And so when hip hop hit and I started to understand certain aspects of the elements, the first one I was attracted to naturally was graffiti. You know what I'm saying? And that was my introduction to what the culture of hip hop was. But yeah, around that time, house music ran Chicago. That's just what it was. The WBMX and Hot Mix 5, Farley Keith and all those dudes running things. You know what I'm saying? Big up to Ron Hardy and everybody, all the dudes who ran that whole scene, because it definitely gave us a modern day identity in the music scene. You know what I mean? But when hip hop hit, it was just an escape for me, because I always felt like I was a little different than everybody in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So plus I was a little kid. Plus I was a little tall kid. I was tall as people that was 2 or 3 years older than me and looked a little older, I guess, in certain instances. So it was like I was always mistaken to be a little bit older. So I ended up falling in the older crowd, ended up getting in a little trouble here and there, this, then, the third. A couple of my family members moved to California at the time. And eventually my grandmother was getting, bombarded with all kind of struggles in Chicago. Her father died, her son died, my uncle got killed. Once again, I said I was in a bunch of little trouble here and there and doing stupid. My grandmother decided to move to California with my aunt and told me, I'm gonna take your little brother and your little sister. You got the choice because you older than them, whether you want to stay here with your mom or not. And I wrote this lyric that said, I could either play the corner with a vest and a Glock, or move to California with the rest of my flock. And I shook the spot. That's exactly what I did. So, yeah.
So that's how you ended up in California. That was actually on my list to ask you. Chicago does have a deep musical history, right? Frankie Knuckles, like we were talking old Chicago house, and even currently.
The real Frankie Knuckles. No disrespect to the dude who calls himself Frankie Knuckles. That's in the Roots. Man.
Is there 2? I didn't know there was 2.
So the percussionist from the Roots, the side percussionist with the braids is Frankie Knuckles. Big up to him too, though, because that's my dude. He's a cool dude. But yeah, we talking about the original. So anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I DJ'd years ago for a long time, and Chicago house. That was and like I said, even currently, Kanye West is from Chicago. You got,
yes, sir.
You got some history there. So that's interesting. Okay, so that's how you got involved in hip hop. I think what a lot of people don't realize about, being as old as we are, Tuna.
You said this. He said that like twice and real deep and real meaningful.
Being as old as we are, I think what a lot of people don't realize about hip hop is like hip hop was like in the 90s, like the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, like the history of hip hop. It was a whole culture. It wasn't just the music. It was the B-boys. It was the graffiti. It was the whole thing. The DJing.
Yes, sir.
There's a few elements to it that brought in the whole thing. It wasn't like it is now. It's not commercialized like it was now. It was a whole culture, like a subculture, which I'm going to ask you about as it relates to Jurassic 5 in a minute here. So where did the name Charlie Tuna come from? When
I was 5, 6, 7 years old, something like that. Starkist Tuna. the canned tuna commercial has a logo and a mascot. His name is Charlie the Tuna. He's a big blue tuna who Starkist feels isn't quality enough for them to catch him to turn him into a can of tuna. And he's always like he's like, yo, dude, you got to, it's ironic because when I was 5, 6, 7, I didn't have his voice. So I didn't know. But this guy has a deep voice. He wears a red tam, you know, little side hat to the side. He got black, look cool, like Malcolm X frames, big blue, white, you know, and he is like, yeah, you know, Starkist Tuna is how he talks, right? He's like, tell him Charlie sent you. My father was watching TV and he heard that, laughing. Now, I'm junior. My father's junior and my grandfather's junior. So it's 4 of us, right? And they used to call my father, his nickname was Pee Wee when he was young. So I guess growing up, he has a little cousin who is my cousin too, but like they're first cousins. He's, you know, they call him Little Pee Wee because I guess they used to act alike when he was little. So my father was like, I'm not going to call my son Little Pee Wee. And I guess when he heard, you know, tell him Charlie sent you, I remember him laughing and going, ha, I'm going to start calling you that. So I'm going to start calling you. Now, from that point, like I said, 6, 7 years old, that was it, right? That was my name. My name through my father's side first, and then my mom and them heard it, and then my whole family name. And I would just beg people not to call me that in front of friends. Please don't. Just, it's family stuff. Just don't, please. Pop slipped, called me that in front of a bunch of my friends when he was visiting one day. And it was a wrap. Now, when hip hop hit and, you know, the whole superhero aspect of choosing a moniker to hide your real personality, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. I searched and searched for a name, you know, because I had by that time got into the graffiti thing, but pop locking and, you know, and trying to learn how to DJ. I had friends whose big brothers was house DJs. And so they had equipment. So we was trying to do the graffiti, the hip hop thing. Tried on a bunch of different names that didn't work. You know, I was on some KRS. A lot of suckers with colorful names. I'm so-and-so. I'm this, I'm that. But they all just did not fit for me. So I just one day embraced tuna on some graffiti first, like trying to figure out a different way to, when you're a graph writer, a lot of the times dudes don't choose big names because it's just a lot of letters and you can't get away with tagging it real quick, whatever. So I was like, tuna, it's 4 letters, but how can I shorten it? I shortened it to 2 and A before I knew, like Tupac spelling his name like that or different things. This is years ago. You know, this is like 1981.
Oh, wow.
82, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I was in Chicago. I came to California with that name, but not really on some, you know, I was on some graffiti but when I came to California, I was kind of reluctant. I didn't really want to be there for long. I wanted to go back to Chicago. So I noticed I was, you know, different. My accent was different. I dressed different. I stuck out like a sore thumb initially. First 5, 6 years I stayed in California, hung around with my homies. I looked different. I sounded different. And I just felt, you know, out of place. So I changed my name from, and that rule in my head of all these letters, from Tuna to Chicago. Because dudes were calling me that. So I changed it from spelling the CH to SHI, right? And then my favorite graffiti artist was Futura 2000, period. Because I wasn't really into lettering as much as I was into characters. But I liked the fact that he was into neither. He would do characters, but he was just like, you know what I'm saying? And I just liked his futuristic style. So I would tag Chicagoism or Chicago 1000, trying to just give love to him, you know what I'm saying? And I was tagging, I'm doing it like crazy everywhere and got a little fame in Los Angeles when I came here, you know what I'm saying, from doing it. But that's kind of how I got into it. I had one epiphany before I left Chicago where a couple of dudes in my neighborhood was trying to be rappers. They was not trying to be rappers, but they was like, you know, drinking beer, hanging out, summertime, under the building, freestyle cypher. Like, you know what I mean? It was no such thing as that, but everybody's clapping their hands and these guys are rapping, but they're making jokes about everybody around. Mm-hmm. And it was a girl that I liked that was down in that same circle, and I was scared to talk to her. And I came down there to listen, ended up becoming the blunt of one of the jokes, and everybody in the crowd laughed. I was embarrassed. It embarrassed the shit out of me in front of in front of an old girl who I really liked. Big up to Tasha, that was her name. And I went home hurt, mad, grabbed a piece of paper and wrote my feelings out in rhyme on both sides. Looked at it like, damn, I could actually do this shit. I could rap. But my feelings wasn't feelings. I was dissing them dudes. And I got a chance 2 weeks later to unveil this thing that I memorized. But I fronted like it was a freestyle. And I was just like, yeah, let me get a chance. And when they was like, you can't rap, I was like, you right, but let me get a chance. They gave me a chance. I spit that rap, both sides. Crowd went crazy. Caught the fever for rapping, but I just kind of suppressed it until I got to California.
It's interesting you brought that up. I think that you felt a little out of place, like you didn't belong a little bit, when you moved to California. Yeah, you were looking, is that, and the same story you hear from other entrepreneurs and things, it fuels them to become successful in whatever business they're in or whatever discipline they're involved in, right? Like it fuels them. Like you just said, you got embarrassed and you wanted to go home and just like prove a point, right? And that's what kind of led you down that path. That's a point in your life that you can actually pinpoint as, you know what I'm saying? Like a turning point in your life. Now, you answered this when you said you moved to California. You were in your early 20s and you were in a group with Cut Chemist, right? What was the name of that group?
The Unity Committee.
Unity Committee. Okay. And at that point, what was the genesis of Jurassic 5? So there was the two of you and then you teamed up. No?
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it was three of us, actually. It was me, Mark Seven, and Cut Chemist. And we were the Unity Committee. We were the Hollywood dwellers up, Silver Lake, California. We would record demos at Cut Chemist's house on his, on his 4-track and, just have fun with it and talk hip hop all night. His mom and his dad was just massive. Cut Chemist's mom and dad, massively cool. Recipes to Cut's pops, but massively cool people used to let us chill over their house all night. Sometimes spending the night in the name of just us recording and allowing their son to have an artistic outlet because, I'm saying that Cut Chemist is an amazing artist, not just a producer, DJ, but he can paint and all that stuff too. So it's really dope. We would do this stuff and we started doing backyard parties here and there. We started teaming up with little bands and just rapping anywhere we could. A friend of ours who could also rap and was part of a group that was forming in South Central called Dark Leaf had told us about this open mic spot called The Good Life and wanted us to go down there to perform. We was down, but we had never, went down there. Mark Seven went down there with our friend. Our friend, his name is Saint Mark, right? And he's from a group called Dark Leaf. So Mark Seven, Saint Mark went down to The Good Life to check it out. It was on a Thursday night. I remember Friday, the next day after I got off work, we met at Cut Chemist's house and we were all like talking about Mark's experience. He was like, yo, fam, you got to understand, this was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was so inspired to hear all these underground dudes. I was like, because at that time, you have to understand, at that time, every record label wanted an NWA. I mean, the phenomena had popped right around there. And it was just like, oh, gangster rap. And everybody wanted that. I'm a fan. I just didn't, I'm not a gangster rapper, So we didn't think that it was a lot of groups that existed like us until we got to The Good Life, right? So it was The Good Life was kind of a oasis, if you will, on the West Coast, a place where all the people who wasn't gangster rappers could congregate, and even some of them who were, could congregate to do crazy new styles, hone their performance skills, and just create new music, collaborate, and create a whole new scene that would eventually kick out some great West Coast stars. You know what I'm saying? Us as the Unity Committee was like, do it. So us and the Dark Leaf wrote this song called Shoes, and we performed it. We prepared to perform it at The Good Life. Shoes was about how we could tell the personality of a woman by the type of shoes that she wore, some weird shit like that. Right? It was cool. It was a group, two groups collaborative effort. We came to The Good Life, and everybody thought that we were one big ass group. They called us Unity Committee Dark Leaf because they thought we were one big group, right? So I'm saying this to tell you that concept is what we took when it came to Jurassic 5. So when we were introduced, both groups got a chance to, Unity Committee Dark Leaf got a chance to solidify their own brands in that scene, this and the third. And, a couple years went past, maybe a year or so, then we saw this group called the Rebels of Rhythm perform. And these three dudes sounded sing and harmony wise, like maybe Cold Crush. We were like, wow, these dudes are dope. Now, me and Mark 7, we used to pattern ourselves after Run D, man, just on some 2-man group, technical pass the mic back and forth, but we had like this real conscious, edge to us. So if Run D was Public Enemy or, something like that is kind of how we was thinking about it, right? When we saw Akil and Dakir and Sean Africa, rest in peace, he died. He would have been the other deep voice dude in Jurassic had he not passed. And it would have been 7 of us instead of 6 of us. It's crazy. But we saw their show and loved them. These dudes were dope. They did a song called The Trials and Tribulations of Jessica, and they did this song called The Rhythm. And we were like, wow, these dudes are dope. So it was custom for us to when I say us, I mean everybody who contributed to The Good Life. It was custom for everybody to try to like collaborate. Let's do a song together, man. Nobody had ever seen this. And then we're performing on a Thursday, So when we saw them, that was just instant. We was like, man, we got to do a song with these dudes. So Cut Chemist asked them to do a song. They had heard a lot of Cut's beats and they liked it. Cut's beats. So they was like, yeah, let's do a tune with you. They thought the collaboration was Rebels of Rhythm and Cut Chemist. And Cut was like, it's cool. Let's do this. But can my dudes in my group get on the song? He was like, who's your group? Like, Unity Committee. It was like, oh, I guess they had seen us before. So they was like, yeah. So we met up and we, wrote and re-recorded this tune that would turn out to be Unified Revolution, the song Unified. That was the very first Jurassic 5 song. And we were like both separately, Rebels over here, Unity Committee over here, shopping demo deals, trying to get it. We in Los Angeles, man. And this, what I was trying to bring back to Chicago. Chicago got all the talent and no industry. Los Angeles has talent and industry, but the bigger part of it is industry. So you got something, it's easy to get it to people, especially at that time, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the thing, to try to get signed. Yeah. And we were shopping our demos everywhere, but we have realized after performing with each other for the following year after making that song, that song was bigger than anything we would do prospectively on our own. So we said, forget it. Let's put some money together and put the record out ourselves. So we put the record out, 500 copies, and just got it to as many people we could. Sold a couple, but basically put them in as many important, we thought, hands as we could. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that got the attention of TVT Records. TVT asked, could they re-release the 12-inch? And we was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. But we was tripping like, see this, y'all? Like, y'all demo and our demo, whatever. They want this record. This is crazy, right? Yeah. So when it came down, we was like, let's just do it. Just, it's just a 12-inch. Everybody was like, all right, cool. When it came down, the TVT was like, oh, what's the name of the group? Y'all got a name? And we both was like, oh. So I took the record home to my son's mom. I was with my son's mom at the time. My son 29 now, so a long time ago. Played the record to her. She has a funny little sense of humor, always acting like, she got jokes. And she listened to it. She's like, this is dope. She's like, y'all think y'all sound like the Fantastic Five, but you sound more like the Jurassic 5. And walked out the room laughing. And I was like, that's it. That's it. Called the fellas. It was a rap. We called the record label. Bam. That was it. So that was our first 12-inch, and it was out. And it did what it was doing a little here and there. Got us on record, in record pools and on underground stations here and there. It wasn't really visually because of the internet. We didn't know. Wasn't no internet really at that time. So we didn't know what this thing was doing. So we had a homegirl. I'm sorry I'm so long-winded.
No. This is the history, man. Okay. Well, now we know how the name Jurassic 5 came to be, which is crazy. Yeah. That's funny. That's a funny story.
That's the truth.
Let me ask you, to me, Jurassic 5 was really interesting from a marketing and music perspective, because I remember you were popular enough to fill, large venues, maybe stadiums, but you were still respectable among the underground crowd, which made Jurassic 5 cool to listen to. You know what I mean? Because
that's dope. I never really thought about it like that, but yeah, cool.
That's the way it came across to me. It really was an interesting time in the industry because hip hop, was mainstream, but you still had the underground scene. Yet I think, record labels, you mentioned it, corporations, they were starting to see the popularity of hip hop exploding. And that's why there were so many mainstream collaborations in that decade. There was, right? If you go back and you look, there was a lot of mainstream collaboration. Is that how you see it? Did you see Jurassic 5 that way? That's what made them cool? Was that you were popular to the masses. That's why, you know, the record labels started to pay attention, but you were also cool in that underground scene, right?
I think you know, if you pay attention to chemistry and ingredients and recipe, like, you know, if you're cooking some food or whatever, and you got the right ingredients, it's going to taste good to everybody. It's going to smell good. It's going to be nutritious. It's everything. I think with Jurassic, not trying this, we didn't sit down and some scientifically, you know, come up with this whole thing, but without trying, I think at that point in hip hop history had the right chemistry. Okay. Mm-hmm. Gangster rap was going one total way, which turned off a lot of people who really, 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 really supported hip hop. And that's outside of America. We talking about the UK and Europe. The gangster rap scene exploded here. Guns, gangs, drugs. They got guns and gangs and drugs in the UK, but they don't have the same problems with it that we do, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a culture whose police don't carry guns at all, right? Unless they absolutely need to. So I noticed that they got turned off by hip hop when they supported it the most. Cut it off, used elements of it, and started creating their own drum and bass, garage, you know what I'm saying, dubstep. All these different musics popped up from over that scene, splintering off the hip hop that they liked, as opposed to what it turned into. Meanwhile, we here trying to create the next thing because we just so addicted, in my opinion, once again, on trend designing, on being the first to do. You know what I'm saying? When a lot of these people who are doing these things don't even get a chance to get outside of the country to see how what they're doing affects the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? More successful than a lot of these dudes even know, you know what I'm saying, is the music, which became the most popular element of hip hop. It's big. And you will find fans of damn near every style of hip hop in other countries. And I was shocked just, you know, the very first time doing it, like going out there going, yo, y'all know about this kind of shit? You know what I mean? So once again, it was the ingredients. We had 4 MCs, frontmen, who, without trying, our voices connected and sounded in harmony when we spoke together. We didn't try this. One of us could sing. Everybody else could hold a note, but one of us could sing. We didn't try this. It just worked, right? 4 minorities, black dudes in America who came from impoverished conditions, who, you know, chose not to, within the height of the popularity of gangster rap, even though we've experienced a lot of the stories and a lot of the things that they glorify within that music, right? We chose not to go down that path. We chose instead to talk about upliftment and things of that nature. And on top of it, we just ain't no militant black group. It's 2 white dudes in the group too. So you can't sit there and try to make it seem like this is some racial thing. Because that's what, you know, that's the biggest symptom in America, the sickness in America, which is racism, right? So you got the music strayed totally away from everything that was out there. We paid homage to the origination of the musical aspect of hip hop. We tried to give back to all of the dudes and all of the music that we, as the older guys in hip hop, love so much. You know, we loved Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. We loved Cold Crush, you know what I'm saying, the Fantastic Five, and you know what I'm saying, the Treacherous Three. We loved those dudes because we was old enough to know about those dudes. And when you start talking about what rap is, we was like, well, this is what rap was. It wasn't meant to, well, they didn't mean it for it to be captured on a capsule, you know, on a piece of record. It was something that you saw live. And we always felt like what KRS said, which was you could have a hit record and tour for 2 years. You could have a crazy show and tour for the rest of your life. So that's what we was all about, was that part of hip hop that we loved so much that people didn't focus on as much. And not knowing that part of the ingredient would hit, you add to the rest of I just said, boom, that was it. It just, you know, it just ran. Yeah. And I was definitely grateful for that, man. I was just like, wow, that's cool that people are looking at us with this admiration. And it's, you know, it's just really just a flashback to what rap really was. So, yeah.
I think you hit on something there. You couldn't label it. And I think that's what made it so intriguing, right? You couldn't label it. And so people were looking and they were paying attention. The interesting thing, actually, if you Google what happened to Jurassic 5, have you ever done that?
No.
Okay, if you do, it says that the group split because of infighting or disagreements. Is that true? group split because of infighting or disagreements. Is that true?
Infighting and disagreement. Yeah, it's true to an extent. We never officially split. Like right now, if I picked up the phone and everybody was in agreement, we could go. We'd be like, all right, let's go. We out. And you'll see a Jurassic 5 thing again. You know what I mean? So we never really officially split. But I will say this: we stayed on the road and became parents and husbands and this, that, and the third, and didn't see our families more than we saw each other. You know, I'm talking about. I say it and coming through, touring without rest. And blessed, my skull's laced with titanium plates that pass metal detection because we crashed the tour bus in 2000. You know what I'm saying? And I almost died. I see the scar on my head. I got a metal plate right here because of it, you know? So I think being weary of the road, you know, adding on to, I think just, you know, not being able to see our families, you know, it'll lead to disagreements. It'll lead to different ideas. Plus we was young. None of us were experts on what the music business was. We was just kind of riding this wave that we didn't know was coming. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was a point where we was just like, fuck you, no, you. But it was not like on some shit like war, I kill you. Or, you know, I'm plotting to have sex with your wife, or I'm plotting to steal money from you. Not like that. It was more like, man, my brother is getting on my goddamn nerves. I got to get away from this dude and not even see him. Let me just give you a month. I ain't even mess with you. It was that kind of thing, I think. And just family shit, you know what I mean? Like more than, I think those family things would lead to disagreements that would cause us to make, you know, some whack decisions here and there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And instead of us just continuously doing that, we step back. Mm-hmm. You know, I felt like we went out like Jordan with the 2-3 instead of the 4-5. And that felt good to me. You know what I'm saying? It allowed us to still have a basis and a brand that allows us all as artists, because we wasn't just group members. We were all, and still are, all artists. Like whether it be visual, audio, whatever, we're all artists. And that platform allows us to do these things that we all each individually have in our souls to do too. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no love. I love every last one. If they looking at this right now, man, I love you, man. I don't care what you say. But it's just one of those things. It's just like, you know, my mama used to always say, if all good things come to an end, be prepared for when that end comes. And, you know, that's just really that. I didn't look at it like we ended, because I'm still screaming Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5. People still ask me about J5. We still exist. And none of us are in the grave yet, you know, thank God. So, you know, there's always still potential there.
Well, let's get the band back together. Now, besides Jurassic 5, you had a really interesting solo career with collaborations and guest appearances, right? What does your personal creative process look like? Like, when I ask that, do you start by thinking of words and phrases and then you write them down as they come to you? Or do you start with the beat and work on lyrics after? What's your process like?
My personal creative process looks like this. It looks just like this. You know what I mean? This is called the fish tank. And my father built this room for me when I bought this house 20 years ago. And I am a dude who has no method to my madness. And that's why I think that is my method, is to allow everything that I can to influence the creative process. Now, as a youngster, I was real superstitious about it. It only has to be a certain way. The conditions have to be right. You know what I mean? And I noticed that I was stifling my creativity. I was stopping myself from doing things that eventually I would end up doing and going, damn, I should have did that how many years ago? You know what I mean? So I don't really have, like right now, for instance, I'm writing this a rap. I'm just writing a rap because I'd be trying. Sometimes I'm like, okay, if I sit too long, I can catch writer's block. And a friend of mine had told me about how to get out of it, or one way to get out of it is just like scribbling. You know, I used to catch drawer's block and didn't know what to draw. So just start scribbling until it became something. So instead of taking a pen and pad out, I turn on an empty Pro Tool session, slap a beat on there, let it play, and just start freestyling. You know, listen back. I like that. I don't like that. Erase that. And just build shit. I've just been building this one rap. You know, so and this was something that a friend of mine told me to do one day. I was like, oh, I'm gonna try that. It's fun. And it ain't like you'll ever probably hear this rap. I don't know. You might not. You know what I mean? It might turn into something that's serious, but it might just be exercise. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have a real method other than all of my focus, my attention to detail, and my patience comes from painting. So I think that's probably the most organized as far as thoughts and inspirational, points of, launching off and doing something. That's probably the only thing that I have that's really organized, is that I'm going to sit there and try to meticulously do it the same way that I would take my time to draw a picture or paint a picture. I'm going to really try to get the details in there as much as I possibly can. Sometimes that might be to my detriment, but I mean,
so two things there. There's a lesson there for, entrepreneurs, business builders, is that done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Right? Just do it. Done is better than perfect. Number two, you have structure and process as it relates to your art. And by art, I mean can control. And that's what that track was about.
Yeah. Graph Time. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. I mean, Graph Time was really like a testament to my love for the sport, and also the small little things that I picked up from doing it, the technical things that I counted my cans as I waited my chance. I perpetrated my plans with ink and paint on my hands. It's things that I had that I'm like, I noticed that this is like an all the time thing, no matter what. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's what I mean. Just paying attention to detail and trying to use that and the patience that it would take to pull off these details, you know what I'm saying, in order to make the best thing possible.
I was surprised to hear that one of your favorite artists was Futura. Honestly, like I'm a Futura fan as well, right?
I'm a fan of his son. You know about his son?
Yeah. Witness.
13th Witness. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have one of his prints in my house. He did one for me.
So sick.
Yo, yeah, 1-on-1.
Lucky bastard, you.
Yeah, 1-on-1. He did it was a shot of the Manhattan Bridge with the snow falling, and he did a 1-on-1. I have it. It's actually, this is really sad. It's in my mother-in-law's house.
Oh. Why is it sad?
What can because I moved out east and stayed there, and I feel really bad about it because I'm a big fan of his photography, which is one of your pastimes as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. He's one of the best. I like I like the dark tones to everything he does.
Big up to Evidence from Dilated Peoples for introducing him to me, man. I didn't know. I like this stuff. I would pass about on Instagram, and Ed told me about it, and I was like, oh man, this dude is really, really sick.
He hasn't been active lately. He hasn't.
He hasn't. Yeah. I mean, I think he's doing other things. A lot of these dudes who was running Instagram, they graduated to other things, you know what I'm saying? But I think he's doing like because his father's like super graphic with a lot of graphic design things and stuff like that. I think he's in that world with his pops, to tell you the truth.
His you were right though. Characters are really interesting. I couldn't do them, but he had the what are they called? The
I always wanted to know what them things was called too. Them little space tunes.
I know the name of them. And he actually did a couple album covers too. He did one for Uncle. He did
the Uncle joints.
Yeah, he did those. It's funny. Yeah, we got some of the same. Like I said, we're both of that age group. Tuna.
It's funny. In 1985, I met Futura at an art gallery in Los Angeles. I came out here to visit my aunt and everything, and I was chilling. Met some graph writers. Went to this game. Futura, Lee Quinones, Fat Five Freddy, A-Rose, and it's one other person. But I can't think. But they all did this cold little gallery. And Futura was there, and he drew. I still got. It's a black book that I had. I brought my black book with me. Yeah, black book has since dissolved and faded away. But the page that they signed,
I got the page that they signed. Okay, so go ahead. The page they signed.
No, I was just saying the page they signed. I kept that. So I got Futura signed, and he drew his little thing. That was the first time I seen that character. I was like, "Dad, that's crazy." Yeah. And the first time I seen graph writers tag the number to spell out the words of a number. So Fab Five Freddy tagged, and he put 198 5 IVE, and I was like, "Woo!" I was all hyped, like, "Yo, son!" Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Dude, there's just something about it, man. Especially if you're in that, if you have a creative eye, design eye, there's something about writing, scripting, grabs your attention, right? That, you go down a rabbit hole if that's the type of, mind you got. Now, as mentioned, you had some pretty interesting collaborations over the years. What was your favorite?
Oh,
I'll tell you mine.
Yeah, let me hear. What's yours?
Roots Manuva. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
Did you? I put a clip out about not a little less than a month ago that I found when I was digging through. Of on the song "Join the Dots" when he say, "No, sir, Mr. Tuna, I can't burn your blunt." You know that part, right?
They put out one a few years ago, not too long ago. That was
it was a tour. Me and Crafty Cuts went on that tour with them too. It was cool.
Oh, you're kidding? Okay, wow. Yeah. Okay, that was it was cool. Really interesting. But what was your favorite collaboration over the years?
Oh, okay. So man, so many collaborations, man. I said this in the rap that I'm a man with more collaborations than a clan of more cameos than a clan of Larry Blackmans, is what I said. Right. The trick is I think I don't have one favorite, but I do have. Okay, I'll say this one. The most interesting one I would say is the one I did with George Clinton, and it's not really like my best song. I have fun doing it just because I learned so much watching. It's like, wow, like this guy did not come out of the booth for 5 hours. Not like 5. He sat in that booth for 5. This was back in Rain, 6ix9ine, where 6ix9ine got his style from. Rainbow-haired George Clinton, sat in that booth, man. It was just like, just thinking about lyrics, trying to, figure out his parts in the song. The song is called There's a Party, if you ever want to hear it. It's on the Spirit of the Apollo. The artist is called NASA, North America, South America. Anyway, so he facilitated this track. Come to the studio. George is in the booth, kind of spacing out. This is back in his drug-induced days and shit, and he'd just be mumbling to the mic, just mumbling, looking at little small pieces of paper he's pulling out of his pocket. And then he would say something that would be extremely profound. And everybody who's outside of the booth would be like, oh, and he'd be like, oh, y'all like that? Y'all like that? Like he said this line, he's reading his paper. It said something like, and he put it in the song. He said, he was reading papers. He said, socially engineered, pre-induced chaos. Everybody outside was like, whoa, that's ill. He was like, y'all like that? Like, yeah. He's like, play the track. Play the track. He listened to it for like 2 minutes. He's like, all right, now be prepared to record. Cool. Boom, press record. And he sat there and he would sing it out. He had figured out a rhyme, sang it out, and then put harmonies on it. And I was like, oh, that's why you are who you are. I didn't get it. I would hear all these stories about you being all drugged on it, but I see you work. I get it. You know what I'm saying? And so that was one of my favorite times ever, like working. I was like, I thank God that I'm able to do what I do, because nobody normally would ever get to see this.
It's crazy you mentioned that, because when you said that there may have been 7 members of Jurassic 5 on stage, I immediately thought of P-Funk All-Stars. Yeah. Right. Like I saw George Clinton. I actually saw George Clinton live years ago. My teens. It was crazy. That guy is crazy. Yeah. Like nuts. So you worked with George Clinton. So that's an interesting answer. I didn't know that track actually existed, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. I got a lot of songs out there. I even shock myself sometimes, man. Here's the thing that I started playing because I was going to the UK so much. Mm-hmm. And in Europe so much. You're getting a cab coming from the airport, or, riding around in somebody's Uber car. And it's been lots of times where I've been in the car and a song of mine comes on that I forgot I did. I'm like, what is this? And then but it's playing on the radio. And I'm like, yo, this is bugged out. Like, or, like an Uber driver will be playing the tape or something. I'm just like, I appreciate that, man, because it's just so much work out there, man.
Man, that's amazing. Who would be your dream collaboration today? Is there anybody currently in the game that you would want to work with right now? Like if you could pick anybody, who would that be? Or I guess I could ask, who you're listening to right now? Any music
up until last year, it happened for me. I used to always want to work with Omar. Omar LaFolk I always wanted to work with him forever. I've been a big fan of his from jump. Since Nothing Like This, I've been a fan. And he agreed to jump on the Adventures of a Reluctant Superhero album with me. And that was amazing. That was amazing. Now currently, Coffee, man. I would love to do a song with Coffee. The reggae singer, the young reggae singer girl, she's amazing. Her lyrical content, her lyrical dexterity, she is beyond her years with her skill. I'd love to work with her for sure. Rap world, I want to say Black Thought, but I did a song with Black Thought before. I wouldn't mind doing a current one. You know what I'm saying? there's a rap group from Seattle called Bag, Blimes and Gab. It's these two queens. They amazing on the mic and they can sing. They're amazing. I love them. I'd love to do some stuff with them. It's one other person that I am forgetting, and I feel so bad forgetting these people right now. Really
it'll come to you. Hey, right. Just start scribbling, and it'll come to you.
Hey,
yeah.
Exactly.
You've done a lot of live performances, and to be honest with you, like I said, I've never seen anybody with the energy you bring live on stage. It's a lot of fun to go to a Charlie Tuna show, Jurassic 5 show. It really is. What was your best live moment on stage? Can you think of one?
Ooh, here's one good one. Okay. Jurassic 5. We got a chance to sell out First Ave in Minneapolis. Right. And when you sell out any shows at First Ave, I sold out First Ave with Jurassic 5 twice. And I sold out First Ave with Ozo Motley once. Okay. So when you sell out, they got this painting on the outside on the side of the wall on the outside of the venue, and they're stars. They're white stars. And inside the stars are the names of the people who sold the place out. So we got our name, Jurassic. I got Jurassic and Ozo up there, and I felt really proud of those moments, right? But one of these times during a Jurassic sold out show, First Ave is the club that they famously filmed Purple Rain in, and Prince owned it. This is when Prince was still alive. We were performing at First Ave. Dakir from Jurassic 5, like I told you, one of us could sing, and it's Dakir. That boy could sing. But anyway, and he's a walking encyclopedia when it comes to like R&B music and music, period. But man, you can ask him anything about, just details about R&B music, and he's serious with it. So we'd be clowning, man, especially during like sound checks and stuff. We used to, clown heavy as far as like he'd start singing an old tune and we'd change the words and act stupid, blah, blah, blah. Right. So we was doing that all during that sound check at First Ave. Well, during the actual show, if you've ever been to First Ave, way in the back above the bar, there is a big bubble that lets you see inside the backstage area upstairs. So we in the middle of our show. And we roaming the stage. We had just finished. There's a part where we stop, and it's a part where, one of us will take the lead and talk to the crowd that sets up the next section of the song, show or whatever. But when that part came, it deviated out of, because I looked over and I looked at Dakir, and he had this look in his eyes and he just started to sing Purple Rain. He just was quiet. He just said, I never meant to call you any problem. And he saw the road, and I looked over at him. I joined in and started singing it. Then the whole crew started singing. And as we were singing, he nudged me on the shoulder and he pointed. And I looked, and Prince was up there doing this with us. Yo, I got goosebumps now talking about I don't know if you can see it. I seen that and I was like, oh, like I wasn't able to you know what I'm saying? And then after we finished singing it, we bigged him up and just was like, damn. And he just he saluted us. I mean, we didn't see him the rest of the night, but Prince sat and watched us sing his song. That my whole head up. You know what I'm saying? My whole head up. I had one other time like that where I was with Ozo Motley in the Bahamas. We were at the opening of this resort called Atlantis, and we were sound checking. And Atlantis they had two big ass buildings with this long stretch of hallway that looked like a bridge that connected to two buildings, when in actuality, that bridge was an actual suite. It's the best suite in the house. And one of the dudes, rest in peace, that used to be in Ozo Motley, man, he died, his name Crunchy. Jose Espinosa, that's my brother, man. He passed, but he was a sax player, and he could imitate the out of Michael Jackson, man. So he just started singing Michael Jackson, Heal the World. We look up, there's Mike in that suite. It's actually Mike, and he's like, yo, singing with him. He was like, big up Mike, and he's kissing at us, and yo, son, I can't make these things up.
Yo, the sing along with Prince sounds like a fake story, but it's Minneapolis, so anything's possible.
Man.
And singing an MJ song and seeing him standing up there, that's got to be surreal.
Dude, that was the most surreal, man, ever, man. And it was cool too, because my son was 8 years old at the time. And like I said, he's 29 now. And I brought him to the Bahamas with me. So later on that night, Mike was walking through the crowd with his security like nothing. And instead of this, security pushing people out the way so Mike can get through, he moved the first two dudes in front of him out the way so that people could come into his circle and give him hugs. He was hugging everybody. So I threw my son on my shoulder and I ran down there to check him out. We got mad close. And, Mike looked up, saw my son, reached his hand up, waved at him with his gloved hand and everything. And my son, to this day, that's one of those memories, those life-changing memories for him. He's like, yo, my pops, man, took me to meet Michael Giles. Oh, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that was a crazy experience, for real.
No kidding, man. That's dude, I didn't think those were the two stories you come up with when I talk about live moments, but it doesn't get any better than doing a sing-along with Prince in Minneapolis. It doesn't that's just it's you can die blessed, right? Here's another question. Do you remember we keep it real here on the Run GPG podcast. We keep it real. Do you remember your most embarrassing moment live? Or did you ever forget lyrics or, anything like that?
Okay, well, before I tell you my most embarrassing moment, one of my most embarrassing moments, yes, we forget lyrics all the time. And what was dope was because we was doing the show and because it was four of us, and that to me is one of my favorite things about Jurassic 5 and just being in a group of vocalists. It was like a sports team and you knew your part. And if you knew somebody else's part, then if they slipped, you could help them. And if you slipped, they could help you, this and the third. So we would do this so much, we made it a game amongst us all. We had in-ears. So, we could hear each other mess up and do different things and clown when the crowd couldn't hear what was going on. So it was a joke with us. We would try to mess each other up and do little stuff to mess each other up. And then at the end of the show, backstage, hey, I got your ass, probably, that kind of thing. It was really fun. So yeah, we used to mess up all the time. Now, that being said, MTV used to throw these parties called $2 bill shows where you pay $2 to get in and you see some 2 stars, this is how they look, right? So they asked us to do it, which I thought was dope that they thought we were stars, which is cool. We opened up for the R&B singer Tweet, right? Now, we get up there, we do our thizzle. And after you finish doing your performance, then a person comes up there, they interview you, they talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And then coming up next, Tweet. And then we go off. You get to talk to your crowd, blah, blah, blah. You go backstage and you're done. Me, I'm just, I'm super, super personal, man, right? I'm always shaking hands with fans and this and the third. So when it come time for us to talk to the interviewer, I'm the furthest away from the interviewer, right? So everybody else is closer to the interviewer. I'm the furthest away and I'm still shaking hands. In front of the stage, because this is a broadcast on MTV, it's set up a little bit unconventional. It's not like stage, then space, then the little bar, then the crowd, or no bar at all and stage, then crowd. It's stage, then a whole row of lights. And then the emptiness, then the bar, then the crowd. So I had to reach over all those lights, but I got a long arm, reaching over all those lights, the security guard, the bar, to reach people's hands, and I'm shaking them. One overzealous girl, I can remember her face. She was cute. I can remember her face to this day. Grabbed my hand. Wow. The fella started to talk to the journalist, cameras on, millions of people watching. This girl grabs my hand, shakes my hand, but instead of letting it go, she pulls me. And when she pulls me, I fall head first into all of these lights. And this is all on MTV. Now I'm 6'5", and at the time, like right now, probably 220. At the time, we was eating at that time. So I'm like 250. I was a big dude, So I fell in all these lights, all this sound, laughter everywhere. My fellas really gave it to me. They gave it to me. And the wackest part was at the end of it all, once we finished and Tweet finished, they do this meet and greet where we sit down and we sign autographs and this and the third. So Tweet sits next to me. And I know Tweet from before she was Tweet. She's always been Tweet, but I mean, she used to be in this group called Sugar. I knew her from them days when she was in LA trying to get a deal and this and the third. So she sat down to me. She was like, "What's up, baby?" I was like, "You remember me?" She's like, "Well, I know you because I know you." I was like, "Brew House." And this is my keyboard player, so I met her. She's like, "Oh, baby, Charlie Tuna." I remember. She's like, "You know what, though? I don't mean to laugh, but I've seen you fall. That damn, baby, you all right?" When she said that, I was so, because Tweet is gorgeous. I was embarrassed, fam. I was so embarrassed. I was like, damn, man. That's messed up.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that with us. I always ask those
Man.
questions, like, you think it's all like roses, guys, as a hip hop icon. But you could be 6'5" and fall in a bunch of lights and people remember.
A bunch of like stage lights.
It's true. Here's a question for you. Have you thought about this? What's been the biggest contributor to your longevity in the game?
I would honestly probably have to say not trying to compete with the game or anybody, any members within the game, but the biggest competition is yourself, and to aspire to be that. I heard DOC say in that song, "The Diggy Diggy Doc," y'all. He said, and I even took the line and used it in another song of mine because I respected this brother so much for saying that. He said, "Keeping it dope as long as I can, like imagine making each record that I do better than the last one." He's competing with himself. That told me that when I first heard that, I was like, "Oh, you ain't worried about what everybody think. You worried about how dope your last thing was and how better you can make the next thing." So that's what I've always tried to attribute to. And I think that not worrying about what the trends were, but being happy with what it is that I made and me being a fan of it first has been my longevity piece. One of the parts of it. I think also not being afraid to take the skill set that I learned from hip hop within hip hop, using hip hop as like my college, so to speak, and taking that skill set and applying it to every other thing that I do. Any other genre of music that I love, I feel like I have the ability to take what I've learned and mix it to create something different. I'm a hybrid maker.
Yeah, you are. You're unconventional, right? No labels.
Yeah.
What advice would you give newcomers or these young guys trying to make a name in hip hop now?
Just that, man. Stick to your guns. Art is perspective, though. So you can't sit here and say this dude is better than that dude. It's about who's looking at the glass. My pops used to take a glass and fill it up halfway with water and put it on the table, make me stand on one side and I stand on and he stand on the other and be like, "Okay, describe that glass to me. Tell me in every word. And I'm going to remember every word you said." And I do it. Then he'd describe it to me. And his words would be different, but we'd be saying the same shit. That's what I'm saying. So it's like everybody got a different perspective on what's good and what's like not. So it's hard to stay focused on what's what, for one. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with this question, I'm lost. I'm like, okay, so how can I really, really answer it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, well,
I think, the newcomers can just go to school by listening to your discography, right? Your repertoire, your music, and then, listen to the.
I mean, more than anything, I would just say stick to your guns, man, and be as original as your soul and your drive and, whatever it is that you're pursuing, what you want out of it can take you. Go where the furthest reaches that it can take you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people it's in them to compete, and then some people it's in them to create, and then some people got a bit of both. It just keeps going. So I would just say don't deny who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. Be you, no matter what.
It's another lesson: authenticity. Be authentic.
Yeah,
be authentic.
Exactly.
Now, if you didn't become a hip hop legend. If you didn't become a hip hop legend, if you didn't, because you are, from my perspective, our generation for sure, didn't become a musician, what would you have been?
Painting. I'm a painter, man. That's just simple as that. I'm a painter that can rap. I'm surprised that, who should have been my wife, which is the painting and art, got, superseded, so to speak, by my mistress, which is the music. But I mean, yeah, man, I and still to this day, man, I paint like that's the only thing I know how to do. Mm-hmm. Because truthfully, I'm faking my way through rap. I ain't gonna front. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know how to do that. Mos Def told me this one thing one day. Me, the rest of the Jurassic 5, we were in France, This is when Black on Both Sides had been out for the longest time, and we was waiting for a follow-up to the album. We ran into Mos Def and his wife, I think that was his wife. Yeah. We ran into most of his wife and two of his daughters, because he had babies with him. We had this conversation in the airport while we was waiting on the plane, asking him, sweating him about, yo, when the next thing coming out, right? Tell him how dope we love Black on Both Sides. I'm telling you this today to say that he was like, man, I don't understand how, this is what he said to us, I don't understand how y'all could go in the studio and just work on the album until the album done and then put it out. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? You Mos Def, you talking about? He's like, man, I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. I go in the studio, I record 4-5 songs, and I get bored, man. And I might like go do some other shit. And I might not revisit the studio for months at time. Maybe, there's times I've done this like for like a year or so. I was like, for real? He's like, yeah. He said, you forget, man, for real? I'm an actor. He was like, that's probably why y'all think I can rap so good, because I can act. I said, oh, damn. I remember walking away from that conversation going, shit, if that's the case, then I'm a painter. You know what I'm saying? Who can rap, Yeah.
Dude, perspective, man. That's an interesting story. That's a really interesting story. In terms of personal development, I remember when we were hanging out backstage, I remember this clearly some years ago. The one thing that stood out to me was you didn't drink. Now, everyone else was drinking and you were crushing. I remember this clearly because you're the only one I've ever seen do this. You're crushing 5-hour energies with 7-Up, I think it was.
Yeah, it was just one of them, just 1 5. I take 1 5-hour, but if I got them, I'll take one before the show, just so I can just like have that energy that I really, really need. Especially if I'm traveling and tired and stuff like that. So you take one before the show. I mix it with a little 7-Up, and it tastes like club soda when you do that. So it's just like, yeah.
So like, I'm backstage at a hip hop show with a legend, and I'm like, okay, we're drinking. I'm having a great time. I look over and you're drinking 5-hour energies, and I was like, really? And I kind of looked at my bottle a little bit, right? And so is that something? The reason why I'm bringing this up is that just a pre-show routine, or do you not actually drink?
I don't drink. I ain't had a drink. I have never had a professional drink. Trust me. Like as long as I've been doing this music and being out there and actually getting paid for it, I've never had a drink. I stopped drinking when my son was 3, either 2 or 3. I always forget that time. Is partially because I'm a Muslim, so I try my hardest to try to, I'm not a perfect man, but I practice as much as I possibly can. I'm a God-fearing man. I pray, I really try to ascribe to the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, things of that nature. Once again, I fall short because I'm a man. There's just like anybody else who try to sit up there and act like they're perfect because of their religion. Nah, you can't. There's nobody who really can. Certain people are more pious than others, but still, I just try to be as real as I possibly can with the fact that I'm an imperfect creature, right? So that's one of the biggest reasons why I hold on to the non-drinking, but also because it takes me out of who I am. I'm not. It makes me too aggressive yet lackadaisical, if you understand what I'm saying. And it takes me out of my focus. I like to be focused, especially when I'm doing art. If I'm especially there, but in general, period, I would just like to be focused. I've been in situations where I've been like jumped by 10 people, you know what I'm saying? Or just, chilling, talking to one dude, and then the next thing you know, that same dude who I'm thinking is all comfortable has a gun pointed in my face. It's been situations where I've been like, okay, I have to be more on point with mine. And so, I'll add the rest of that part to the fact that being a Muslim and everything makes this something easier for me to do than anything else. And also, in the words of Slick Rick, hey kid, walk straight and master your high. Some people can control themselves in those situations. You know what I'm saying? I've seen dudes on coke, meth, X, weed, everything. Sometimes all of it at one time, blah, blah. Some people can control their high, and some people cannot. And I noticed that when we performing in different places and touring and stuff like that, people who getting faded, they trying to relax. They trying to have fun. Some people just go overboard. You know what I'm saying? Some people get aggressive, want to fight. Some people get too lovey-dovey, want to get up on you. Some people, it's just some of those things. I never really wanted myself to fall under that, especially dealing with the public. You know what I mean? For sure. So
that's another lesson, know yourself, know your limits, and stay focused.
Yeah, stay
I think
focused.
that's a good lesson. Actually, my favorite part of that night was where the stage was. In order for us to come out from behind the stage, you had to come on the stage, and I came out briefly, and everybody thought I was a member of Jurassic 5 for about 30 seconds. So I thought that was cool.
No, ladies and gentlemen, we got a new member.
Hey, what's good? See you after the show, everybody. Yeah, that was fun. Now, listen, right now, again, personal development, daily routine, is there an app or piece of technology that you can't live without?
Wow. I've always been, in all of the social media situations, Instagram has been the funnest for me, just because I've been able to show images, so I got onto Instagram through a dude named Tim House in the Bay, who was telling me about how two of my other brothers was running on Instagram, Evidence and Babu. And I'm like, word? So, then another brother of mine, Tri-State, and I'm like, word? Okay, cool. So I'm checking everybody out. And I'm like, oh, this is cool because I like to take pictures. I like to paint. Might as well just use this as an outlet. And it's been cool. Now, since then, Instagram has turned into some other shit. So I like all of the little small apps that I picked up, the cats like Evidence told me about, Tri-State told me about, that helped me edit pictures like on my phone on the fly when I'm just moving, you know what I'm saying? Big up to Camera Plus, big up to Snapseed, big up to Lightroom, big up to what's one other one I'm forgetting. But yeah, those like the apps that you use to edit your photos. That's probably the things that I'm on the most, actually.
Okay, now here's another question. Getting to the end of this, wrapping it all up. If you could have dinner with any three people in history, past or present, who would that be and why?
Okay. Robert Nesta Marley would be at the table with me. I've had dinner with his sons and I've always said, damn, man, it'd be dope to actually sit there with him. I would love to sit down with Malik El-Shabazz, Mr. Malcolm X. And at that same table, I would love to have, this is weird, but I would love to have King Tut sitting there. And them three perspectives, I feel like I'd get so much shit out of just sitting down having dinner with them three people.
So let's review. Who is it? Who are the three?
King Tut, Malcolm X, and Bob Marley. Think about that. Think about what you would talk about in them. That's ranging the whole spectrum right there.
Imagine that table. Table. Man. Yeah, it makes you go a little deeper, doesn't it? When you think about that, like who's had a major influence on your career and your life. Okay, when all is said and done, what does the Charlie Tuna legacy look like?
Man, I'm hoping that my the verbal Herman Monster's thirsty, and I'm concert worthy with no controversy. My mind states beyond what you formed about me, and my music will live on without me. That's kind of what the legacy happens. I want it to look like that. I want everything that I've been able to create with my hands and my mind to have a lasting effect way after I'm gone.
Amazing. On that note, it was an absolute pleasure, Tuna, to talk to you, get to know you better.
Thank you, man.
Here's the deal. Where can people find you, or where do you want people to go?
My website is chalituna.com, CHALI2NA.com. If you want, look on that site and check out the merch. And if you need anything from me, painting wise, I do commissions, as well as I have existing paintings and stuff like that. Hit me up at Charlie Tuna Merch. So CHALI2NAMERCH @gmail.com. And just, man, somebody follow me on Instagram and on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Instagram is Charlie_Tuna, CHALI_2NA. And the YouTube is just Charlie Tuna, man. You look me up and you'll see me.
Absolute honor. Hear your story, what inspires you, your creative process. Talk all things Jurassic 5, along with the history of hip hop and its current state. That was a fun one for me, and I know our listeners and subscribers will really love this conversation. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. Thank you for having me.